Hello there, good people. My name is Marco. Welcome to my channel, and today I'm gonna try and do my first project on this channel. As I said, project-based learning has been my mantra since I started, so to do that you need, first of all, projects. So let's start. After an extensive research online, I was able to find this website, which I will link in the description below. Let's take a look at it. As you can see, 42 exciting Python project ideas and topics for beginners 2021 by this guy. Now, as you can see, you have 42 projects and it's from beginners level, intermediate level, advanced level. I'm just gonna focus on the beginners one for now. And the first one, you guessed it, is MadLibs generator. Oh yeah, I know what you're thinking. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Oh, please God, no, MadLibs again. I hear you, brother. And you must remember that the biggest thing have had small beginnings. So this is gonna be the small beginnings for us, for me, for the entire world. Okay, so let's start. So for today's video, I'm gonna use PyCharm, which is an IDE. It's kind of a text editor, but it's more complex. And I've been using this since I started because the first tutorial I've ever watched was with PyCharm, so I decided to stick with it. Anyway, let's start from some simple stuff. Let's create a folder, and within that folder we're gonna create the project. So we're gonna do everything through the terminal, which is embedded in PyCharm, and I'm gonna do that because, you know, they say using terminal is cool, so I'm gonna do that. So make dir, we're gonna call it YouTube projects. Okay, I'm gonna get in the folder if I can find it, and inside here I'm gonna create a file, and we're gonna call it, of course, MadLibs. So touch madlibs.py. And we should have it here, and that's the one. Oh yeah. Okay, so to begin with, we need the general rules of the game, and I was able to find, well, if you research a little bit online, you can see that the general format for MadLibs game is short stories, and this is basically the format I want to kind of achieve. So you have blank spaces with exclamation, then an adverb, a noun, and an adjective. I think this is pretty straightforward. And after completion, this should be the result. So it should have a sentence, which is, I guess, mad. We'll see if that's funny. Okay, so let's go back to our project and let's start. So first of all, I want a text, and this text has to have like empty spaces, but I'm not gonna put empty spaces. I'm gonna put probably something else, and I have something written here, and I think I'm gonna use it because it's so convenient. Copy paste. Okay, here I'm using an F string, which is basically a format string. I think it works with Python 3.7 and above. I'm not so sure about it, but in case it doesn't work, you can just use the dot format syntax, so the thing is the same. You write your story here, you put a placeholder with curly brackets, and then dot format, and you put whatever you want in the curly brackets here. So let's try. So we have our text, and now the thing is simple. As you can see, I have 2 names, which actually should be nouns, because these are nouns. I have 3 adjectives and 2 verbs. So now I want the user input. So I'm gonna say name1. It's gonna be input. Okay, so now we got our inputs, and well, I should actually name this noun if I want it to be found, right? Okay, so one cool thing that you can do in PyCharm is that you can actually try and run the code. So I'm gonna do that now. MadLibs, enter a noun, well, simple noun, house, a car, eat, sleep, enter an adjective, tall, beautiful, red. And of course it doesn't work. Why? Because I forgot to print it. Stupid. So now let's try it again. Let's create some suspense to it. So I'm gonna make it sleep for 2 seconds, and then I'm gonna print text. Now this should work. Let's try it again. Okay, enter a noun. Well, house, car, eat is good, sleep, red, tall, simple, creating the story. Oh my god. Well, now this is kind of long, and that's because I didn't add the escape. But as you can see, we got our story, and it says there was a young house, and one day it got red. Never such a car was seen in the realm. People started to eat, sleep, they shouted. The house decided to take a hold of the situation, but it was tall and simple, always lost because of a car. Well, it's pretty funny, I must admit. Okay, so now the script works. We have a text, we have the user input, but it's missing something. And let's try and address that a little bit more. So the first thing that we should actually do is one of two things. So as you can see here in the input, we got a noun, but we're not really checking if it's a noun. Same thing here in a verb. We're not really checking if it's a verb. And I think that this is something that I don't really want to address right now because it's too complicated. But basically, I think the way to solve such a problem would be to give it a list of nouns, of verbs, an adjective, and just say, look, see if it's in that list, and if it's not, well, then return an error or return something else. The second thing that I want to address, which is a bit more simple, is actually the thing is that we want a story, and so we need inputs. So the first error that we could get is actually if every input was an empty string, then we wouldn't have anything to replace. So I just want to check that. I actually want to be very functional here. So functional programming. So I want to develop a function that is going to check that for me. And the first function, I actually want to call it get noun, and it's going to get triggered when I actually prompt the user for nouns. The second one is going to be get verbs. It's going to do basically the same thing. The third one is going to be get adjective. I can spell. Whoa. Now, what do I want these functions to do? The first thing is I want to be able to get as many inputs as I want from the user without ever going out if the string is empty. So what I'm going to do usually in these cases is just provide a while loop and just say while true. So basically it runs every time. I'm going to ask for an input. So this one, noun, let's say. And if the length of noun is equal to 0, so basically it's an empty string, I want to continue. And what this does is basically gonna bring me up to the beginning of the while loop, and so it's gonna prompt the user again to provide a noun. If the string is not empty, then I want to return the noun. And I'm just gonna copy the same thing, the same logic in the other functions. Okay, so now I have my functions, and I don't want to get the input like this because these are going to be in the function. So one thing that I can do is actually create a kind of a dictionary. I'm going to call it MadLibs. Okay, and I'm going to provide the same keys, so noun 1, and actually I'm going to associate the function. is going to be get noun. And you always need to remember the parentheses in this case, because it actually executes the function. If you don't, so if you prompt it like this, it's just going to return the function and you're not going to get anything out of it. So like this, and I'm going to do the same for all the other inputs. Okay, now I also want this script to be scalable, okay? To be a software that we could actually put anything in it, and I don't have to provide the text all the time. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna actually create a txt file like this, and I'm just gonna call it story.txt, if I can spell it. Okay, and I have a story right here, and I'm just gonna format it the same way I formatted the text the first time. Okay, now that we have the text, we need to get access to this tag. We need to read it, and you can do it simply with open. You're gonna give the name of the file. Just make sure that it's in the same folder as your file. This file, and I'm gonna say story is equal to file.read. Okay, now that I have a story, I can just get rid of this one. I don't need it anymore. Now I need to do something else. So I have a txt file, which is basically a string, and I need to find all those places where I have to replace actually the noun1, noun2, the user inputs basically. And to do that, I want to do it in a very professional manner, and I'm gonna do it with the regular expression. Just remember to import regular expression up above. And right here, I actually want to get all the small substitution that I need to do. So I'm just gonna call it sub. And I'm gonna use a method called findAll. And this method actually returns an array. And you just need to put the pattern of the regular expression. So I'm gonna do it R. This is gonna be my pattern. And what I want to have basically is something like this. So curly brackets, some characters, and then a number. So I'm just gonna put it like this. I need to escape the curly brackets. Then I need to put a parenthesis. And this is to say, just grab what's inside the curly brackets. Put it like this. This means any character 1 or plus times, followed by any digit 1 or plus time. And then I need another curly brackets, not inside of course, another curly brackets outside. And this should be our regular expression. Then I need to say where you want to look for this pattern, and I'm just gonna put the story. As a side note, if you wanted to experiment with the regular expression and stuff, you can actually do it in PyCharm. If you have a txt file, you can actually open it up in PyCharm. Just do Command F on Mac and Control F on Windows, and you can actually see what you're getting just typing in the small box right there. And so I'm just gonna type what I type right now. And as you can see, it tells me that it's actually correct because it's gonna select all the things that I wanted to select. Okay, so now we have a list. This will actually return a list of all the matches. What I can do with it is actually look through it and replace it with the actual user input. So if I just say for each in sub, what I can do is story equals story dot replace, and here I need the old string. Yeah, PyCharm says it all. And the old string is actually, I'm gonna concatenate a few strings here because I need this, because actually what the match is from the findAll method is actually what's inside of the curly brackets. So just noun1, noun2. But actually what I want to do is replace the entire thing. So I need to include the curly braces. So now I have the old string and now I have the new string. And what's the new string? Well, I can get it from the dictionary, Madis, and this is gonna be each. So I'm gonna look up every key in the dictionary and I should actually get my story. We're gonna put story here and we're actually gonna try it out. Let's see if it works. Enter a noun, bill, tree, grasp, sleep, an adjective, short, superficial, strong. Reading the story, yoo-hoo! There was a young Bill and one day he got short. Never such a tree was seen in the realm. People started to grasp. Sleep, they shouted. The Bill decided to take a hold of the situation, but it was superficial and strong. All was lost because of a tree. Alright, so now you see that we got a story, everything is fine, and we actually can expand this just adding more txt files so we have more stories and stuff like that. One thing that we could do, and this is the last thing I want to add on, is actually I don't want to have to specify in the dictionary all the time noun 1, noun 2, verb 1, verb 2. I want the script to be able to find it on its own so that I can just write whatever story comes to mind and I can put it and it's gonna prompt me all the inputs that I need to get out from the user. So to do that, I'm just gonna use another function because we're talking in terms of functional programming, and I'm actually gonna say get Madis. And what I need here is actually a list of all the things that are in the text. So noun 1, noun 2. So I can say words. I actually want to initialize an empty dictionary, and this is what I'm gonna populate with the user inputs. This time I'm gonna use another method in the regular expression library, which is match. Match is basically a method that comes back with a match object or none if there is no match in the text. So it's either false or true. And so I'm gonna use that Boolean kind of value of the match method to filter out everything. So I'm just gonna loop over the words. So for each in words, and I'm gonna check what it is. So the match method works like this. I need to put the pattern. I'm just gonna put a regular expression, and the regular expression is actually caret, which means it starts with something, and this should start with noun and then the thing it wants to see. So each. So if it starts with noun, I'm gonna prompt the user to get noun. So Madis each, basically noun 1, noun 2, etc. It's gonna be equal to get noun. And the same goes for all the rest. Now that I have all the inputs, I can return Madis, which is actually the dictionary, which is gonna replace this one. So I can get rid of this one. And here, actually, I need to execute the method. So I'm gonna say MadLibs is equal to get Madis. And the words are gonna be sub. Now I want to do something particular here, because sometimes if we look at the text, sometimes we have a prompt for the same things, like noun 1 here and noun 1 there. So in the find all method, I'm gonna find two matches of the same thing, and I don't want that. I want to have a set of unique values. So the simple thing to do is I can actually put this inside a set, and this is gonna give me only unique values. For the replace, it's basically the same thing. Instead of that, I'm gonna use MadLibs each. Let's check it out. Fall, dwarf, a car, left, happy, complain, calm. It's creating the story. Ooh, there was a young car and one day got happy. Never such a dwarf was seen in the realm. People started to fall. Complain, they shouted. The car decided to take a hold of the situation, but it was left and calm, always lost because of a dwarf. Well, as you can see, now this works, but actually I can put everything in the story.txt. I can change and I can add new things into it. I can add new stories, and this is way more interesting right now. Okay, so for today, we just got one down out of 42 projects. I'm not gonna do them all, but if you like this video and you find it inspiring, please leave a like or decide to subscribe or leave me a comment. Nice comments, please. And I'll see you guys to the next video. Thank you. Bye.